I finally understand what Jesus meant in Matthew 5:31 to 32 on divorce. I finally understand. Good morning and welcome, St. Peter's, to day 6 of our devotionals. Remember our 3 parts. We have the law, we have the vicious cycle that creates, and then we have the transforming initiative. That's the emphasis that Jesus puts on for his children, the children of the Father. So firstly, let's get into it. Chapter 5, verse 31. The law. It's been said, whoever divorces his wife must give her a written notice of divorce. This coming straight from Deuteronomy 24. In Jesus' day, people understood the law, men in particular, and would basically give their wife a written notice. They would say it 3 times, I divorce you, I divorce you, I divorce you, over even the most piddling of things. It could be that she had burnt the toast or had done something that he didn't like. This is what was happening. This was the law, according to Deuteronomy 24. Jesus then goes on to say, well, what is the vicious cycle? Have a look at verse 32. But I tell you, everyone who divorces his wife causes her to commit adultery. This law had allowed and led to massive amounts of adultery. The point being that men everywhere were just divorcing their wife for various reasons, really for reasons of their own desires and wanting to do their own things. And it was causing huge amounts of relationship breakage. A vicious cycle. Notice Jesus is verse 32, he's speaking to the men. He says, anyone who divorces his wife. Jesus is not giving us a new law about divorce for our age today. Rather, he's saying the intent of the law, do you remember we had the intent of the law, was to create relationships of care and commitment to one another. In particular in Jesus' culture, it was meant to have relationships of care with men looking after women. This is within the time period of thousands of years ago. But it wasn't working. That wasn't what was, that was actually not happening. Jesus elsewhere in another gospel says, what is the intent, or how is it meant to be? Jesus says it's not meant to be, divorce is not meant to be the way forward. Rather, you are created male and female, and made as one. So Jesus says, let's transform the relationships within marriages. Let's be obedient to God from the heart, to God our Father. Let's read verse 33. Again, you have heard it said to our ancestors, hang on, there's no transforming initiative. There's nothing here that Jesus says that is to transform this situation. Well, we are working off the back of material by a man, should reference a man named Glenn Starzen in his book on the Sermon on the Mount. And he's pointed this out. Have a look with me at 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verses 10 and 11. Listen to this. Paul says, to the married I give this command, not I, but the Lord. A wife is not to leave her husband. If she does leave, she must remain unmarried or be reconciled to her husband. It seems here that Paul has this transforming initiative that Matthew has left out for reasons we don't know. Paul here says, be reconciled. And Paul also says, it's not I, but the Lord Jesus says this. He has the transforming initiative, and it's addressed to women. It's radically addressed to women. Be reconciled, go back and be reconciled to your first relationship. The gospel means that all are equal in the eyes of God. It means that women are now sons of God, meaning in the context of thousands of years ago, they have the full rights and the full worth and value that a son would in that culture. And what this was creating was relationships of incredible equality before the Lord between men and women. And men, some women were starting even to think, well, we can just leave our husbands and do what we like. And that was true. The gospel was creating those relationships. But what Jesus is saying now is there's a law you know from Deuteronomy. We're not replacing it with another law, but now we're replacing it with a law from the heart where we're called to obey our Father. And if we want marriage relationships to be strengthened, he's saying all of us, men and women, are called to transform our relationships by being committed to commitment to another and reconciliation where that is possible. Jesus gives one example on sexual adultery, where reconciliation may not be possible. He doesn't cover the whole gamut of exceptions. There are other reasons why reconciliation may not be possible. But here Jesus says, transform your marriages, your relationships with your loved ones. Be committed to commitment and committed to reconciliation. That's our transforming initiative for today. See you tomorrow.